Joining me now from London is Rob Miller. He's the director of the Cuba Solidarity Campaign. Good to have you on the program with us. You know, Cuba certainly knew that this moment was coming, but it is still historic as the country will now be officially governed by someone other than a Castro for the first time since 1959. How significant is this?
Well, I think it's very significant, obviously, for the Cuban people. It's a big change. But you have to remember Cuba's been through an awful lot in its short history post 1959 revolution, the collapse of the Soviet Union, the effects of the blockade, and going through Trump, the missile crisis. It's been an incredible history. This is just another step in the history of Cuba developing before our eyes. It is significant, but I think the situation in Cuba will continue. There is generally support for the government, as we saw when Fidel died. The people came out on the streets and mourned his passing. And I think this is just another step in the direction of Cuba's continuity as a nationally independent and proud nation in Latin America, which wants to stand on its own 2 feet in the face of tremendous threats from its superpower neighbor.
So do you think that we won't likely see very big changes moving forward with Cuba? What's next for the country?
Well, I think that, the National Assembly, the party, sorry, will elect its new first secretary, and going forward, the president is in place, Miguel Diaz-canel. The governance of the country is very much in place, and that's one of Raul's legacies. I think the biggest problems they face, obviously, are the economy. It's in a very, very difficult situation at the moment with the effects of the Trump-era sanctions, which are really hitting home, and obviously the pandemic itself, which has hit Cuba very hard in terms of tourism and obviously the costs of dealing with the pandemic itself. So Cuba's in a very tricky situation, and they are the priorities for the country right now, getting out of this very, very difficult situation. This is part of that process. It's part of handing over, moving on from the historic generation, the revolutionary generation. Raul is 89 years old, and they were the generation that took Cuba to its revolution. And now it's for the people of Cuba, the new generation, to take the country forward. So I think you'll see a continuity while there'll still be some elements of change, particularly on the economic front.
What does this likely mean for Cuba's relationship with the U.S.? So far, President Biden really hasn't made any signals toward wanting to have any kind of level of negotiation or anything with Cuba. But do you think that it could lead to improved ties or efforts in that direction?
Well, I very much hope so. I mean, obviously, it was Raul who oversaw Cuba's the rapprochement with the United States when Obama was in charge, and the opening of embassies in Washington and Havana. And it was Raul who welcomed Obama to Havana during that very brief period of rapprochement, which was obviously been set back so violently, really, by the Trump administration. We very much hope that Biden moves forward. Obviously, there is a willingness in Cuba to engage with the United States. The people of Cuba waved Cuban flags and American flags at that time. They want a close relationship with the United States. They want to trade, they want to travel, they want to exchange. The blockade, the sanctions are unilateral. They are US sanctions against Cuba. So it's very much up to the United States to change its policy and recognize that Cuba is an independent country that really just wants to determine its own future without the constant aggression and intervention and blockade from its giant superpower neighbor. So I'm optimistic, but we very much hope that Biden and the Congress people in the United States will look towards a better future with their close neighbor.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Rob Miller, thank you so much.